there's a pattern here, right? With whether it's Doctor Who, whether it's Star Trek, whether it's Star Wars, of taking something that used to be unique to one specific male character, whether it's Captain Kirk, he was the first like character that we had that was like venturing out into space, or the Doctor, which was played, the very first one was played by William Hartnell, a white guy, to going back and retconning the history of these franchises so that actually a strong, diverse woman actually did it before them, and we just didn't know about it at the time. Star Trek's done it with Michael Burnham. Doctor Who's done it with the Timeless Children, and now we've got it here with Star Wars with Episode 3 of the Acolyte. And I just think it's such a consistent pattern. There has got to be intent behind this. They think they're so smart by doing it, but like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm starting to notice this pattern occurring.
They think they're very smart.
Yeah.
And the thing about the female directors or whatever is, you know, we've had a few good ones. I mean, Bryce Dallas Howard, I think when she was writing Jon Favreau's story, like, she did a fine job directing things. But Leslie Headland, I don't think has a freaking clue what Star Wars even is, let alone to go ahead and direct and create an entire show before The Phantom Menace. And the whole fact that they released The Phantom Menace in theaters and put a trailer for The Acolyte as like, hey, this connects to that. Are you? No, it doesn't. At all.
I mean, well, you're forgetting theory.
So now people are saying Plagueis got the idea of creating life from the witches.
Of course.
No.
Oh no!
This is it. This is how it does. This is how they do it. They insidiously work all this stuff into the lore. It's like tendrils just spreading out.
Yeah, I've seen some people defend that. I'm like, no.
This is what I mean. At this point, how could they not expect the next fucking film from someone who gets put in to actually fix all this shit to just say, it was all a dream, fuck you, new film? Because, like, why, if you're going to fuck with it this much, just...
The new film is the Rey film, rumored a new beginning, where the thread, female, whatever. Enjoy your new Jedi Order that's all female, I guess, with Rey. That will be.
I mean, like, if this is anything to go by, an episode of a TV show, imagine what the internet response is going to be to a Rey-centric movie.
Yeah,
Charmin Obey-Chinoy.
It's going to be interesting. Oh, I think Charmin hates men more than Leslie Headland does.
Oh, cool.
She is an activist. I get a lot of her comments were in the context of making the men that do horrible things to women uncomfortable with your documentaries. But she also sort of said 100%. It again in the same context
100%.
With Star Wars fans. And so, yeah, I don't think she would do anything that would be kind towards us.
Yeah, well, look, after working for Harvey Weinstein, I can imagine why you hate men. But, you know, we're not all like that.
This is the thing. And, well, I guess with Leslie Headland as well, like, I have to wonder... what the intent is towards not just Star Wars fans, but like things like the staples of the genre. Like, she's already tried to rewrite what the Force is. There's this attempt to recontextualize the Jedi as well as being this actually malicious, narcissistic force within the galaxy that actually deserves to be condemned. And it's only come about under Disney. And I just wonder how much more of that we're going to see in this show, because they're already leaning into it pretty hard.
Well, I mean, we should all go around and say what's our favorite Leslie Headland project before this one. Exactly. Why are they hiring such inexperienced people? Like, what from her previous work made you think she's the perfect person to give $180 million to make a show? Or the
because Chris, Star Wars literally saved her life, don't you know?
I mean,
she's on record as saying that.
Sure. Yeah. Most of the directors from Marvel, right, were a lot of people that cut their teeth on little indie movies that had something. If you saw James Gunn's Super, it's a really good little indie movie that has heart, it's very much like his films after, you know, it's this little movie with Rainn Wilson. Has anyone seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah. It's actually really good. It takes
good.
Such a fucking swerve, like I don't know, probably like towards the end.
Right.
With Ellen Page.
It's weird.
Holy shit, I did not see that coming.
I think it's great. But it takes risks, but nothing from any of the talent that's being hired shows me that there's any hope at all. In fact, they're finding people that just want the job. And Leslie admitted, was it You Theory that played that video or that audio where Leslie Headland just says she BS'd her way into this job? That's half the industry.
No, I want to see this. Where's that?
Have you?
Well,
it's around.
There's one that you
Did you play the one I sent you?
That I've got here about like her inspiration for this. I could probably play that actually just now if you want to hear it.
Didn't she say she just sent an email to Lucasfilm and they responded to her?
Just to add to what Chris was saying quick, because obviously even James Gunn had more history than a lot of people do, being the Scooby-Doo movies and Dawn of the Dead writing for him, right? So like there's before anyone flips it, the Scooby-Doo movies actually have a lot of like fun in them. You can see how someone could translate that into something else. But I was just going to say the difference between Phase 1 and Phase 5, where you had directors like selected like John to begin the MCU, Jon Favreau, Kenneth Branagh, Louis Leterrier, I think it was, Joe Johnson, and obviously Joss Whedon. All of these people who had fucking huge, or at least somewhat vary from smaller but to huge careers. And nowadays it's more so just, that about sums it up. Gary said it again and again, and it's hard not to agree with it completely. Their cast.
Yeah, 100%.
And you know what's even worse? They're thrown to the wolves somewhat. They don't know what they're getting into. They're like, oh, this is awesome. I get to direct something with like a huge budget. Do you remember, I think it was David F. Sandberg, right? He went from Lights Out as a short film on YouTube to being able to make Lights Out the movie, to then getting Shazam, which was pretty well received, and then Shazam 2, which was a huge flop. And I can't remember, there's comments of him just being like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, this is such a weird career trajectory of what just happened. It's like, best of luck, of course, because now your name gets associated, of course, with like a failure, a big budget one.
Well, if you have a big high profile failure early in your career, that's it. You're in movie jail, and you're probably not going to get out. Let's see.
Alternatively, you have fucking like writers like Michael Waldron who get attached to Multiverse of Madness, which I thought was a complete disaster, and he's going to get brought on to write for Avengers. Because it's like, well, Multiverse of Madness made money where many others hadn't. And so it's like, so that guy must know what he's doing. It's like, no.
They fail up and laterally. No one ever gets fired. And cast. And shout out to Chris Gore and Alan Ing for all those series about Disney and all the inside, all the people coming out. Like, it's all the good people got pushed out. Me Too was weaponized, pushed out, and they brought in literally people from Tumblr.
Yeah, well, they
brought in Leslie here, and let's hear what she has to say about this, because it's fascinating insight into her psychology with this one.
Frozen as a grown-ass woman. I cried through the entire movie. There was just something about the concept of true love being between two sisters and not a heterosexual relationship. Like, it just destroyed me completely. And I thought, gosh, I would love to make something like this that is Disney, meaning it's something that like my parents would have allowed me to see when I was younger as a queer person.
Gotcha.
But I would have been able to understand as a queer person, and I think I would have had a completely different life. And so when I was developing this original idea to pitch to Kathleen, I thought, well, it can't just be that. When you're pitching Star Wars, you have to pull from what George was also interested in. Like, it can't just be like, well, I'm referencing, especially if you're going to set something, during the High Republic or end of High Republic into prequels, you don't have the Skywalker saga.
Hi, excuse me, I'm having.
So, that was essentially her thoughts on The Acolyte. Basically, she really enjoyed Frozen because she has like some deep-seated conflict with her own sister, I guess. Cried all the way through it, and then just wanted to replicate that dynamic in her own TV show. So she just straight up stole it, as far as I could understand.
And to that end,
the Star Wars show.
Literally, yeah.
The twins are very much coded as a toxic lesbian relationship, where one just wants her own life, she wants to go out and do things, and the other one wants it to be all about them, to the point of like, no, you have to tell me everything, and we're literally the same person. And if you don't do that, it's insane.
I do like the one who's so into individuality, and yet she still kept the same exact hairstyle as her twin, like for the remainder of her life. Like, wouldn't you do something to try and differentiate yourself from her? I don't know.
Keeps her
I thought the other one wanted to play softball. She
just wanted to be part of the lesbian.
It's funny.
Communist cult,
that she talks about how she wants to respect what George made, but then in that other clip that I showed last week, she talks about how people shouldn't give a shit about George in the room, and they should focus on this guy who's hiring Ralph McQuarrie. Like, that's the misogyny. That's the Ator myth of whatever else.
She's the one that said George doesn't know. You saw it because your reaction was the best of all. That she's the one that says that George wasn't the end all of Star Wars, that he didn't know everything.
Yeah.
Do you ever get the impression that she just says whatever seems appropriate at the time and she doesn't actually believe anything?
Yes, all celebrities do that. When they're in front of those pandering journalists, that's what they do. They say what needs to be said to keep working, which is towing certain lines. So leaning into, queerness and all that. That's going to get her hired, by the way. I have friends that work in the industry. I'm talking about below the line jobs, right? Like on a film set that are being asked to fill out surveys about what their gender identity is and how they identify. They just put queer so they can keep working. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
This is how it's gotten to.
No, I believe it. I said in my breakdown, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just turn gay, and then people will take my criticisms a little more seriously.
The numbers of queer were skyrocketing.
I identify as every gender and no gender simultaneously.
Well, people don't want to get fired.
No one's going to say anything. Be like, oh, okay, that's valid.
We're all gay.
Okay.
We're all gay talking about 5 gay guys talking about Star Wars right now.
I'm all right with that. You have real nice hair, Chris. That's a nice beard. You look beautiful on you. Yeah, no, this is not getting any better. They know exactly what they're doing. And the insidious thing is that might actually be their plan, really, to just get rid of all of us and think they can rebuild it with. And I think they said on Geeks and Gamers in the morning, like, look at the people that the Star Wars official account replies to on Twitter, and look at who they don't or block. It's a very targeted group.
I said this myself. Like, I could draw a lot of parallels between where Star Wars is at now and where Doctor Who is at as a franchise. It's that feeling of the game is almost up. We're running out of time, running out of money, and it's just like we're into pure fuck you mode now. We know you don't like what we're making, and we just say fuck you. We're just going to put everything in that we want to put in. All the socio-political messaging, all of our own personal hang-ups, all of our own personal politics, all of it. It's just going to get rammed down your throat because we know we're in the last chance saloon right now. So why not? Why not just throw all this shit at a wall and see what sticks? And Doctor Who's exactly the same way.
That sentiment about George Lucas, by the way, I feel like KK, Ryan, and JJ have all said it. Like, that George comes first, that his vision's so important to us that we would never.
Right. Yeah.
And like, it's almost like if ever I hear that, I'm like, oh, so you're lying to me. This is what we're doing away. Like, it does feel like something they were told to say because it has a positive effect. People like to hear that.
Absolutely. I remember when I was at Celebration in 2019, and I saw Kathleen on stage with JJ, and she's like, guys, like, just lying through it. Guys, you don't know how much this movie means to him. Guys, you have no idea. And everyone's just clapping and cheering, and I'm like, wow, that didn't sound sincere at all.
He loves it. Then he went out and called them white slavers. And I know Theory, you talk to people that probably hear is real. That's like, yeah, I'm sure he's not fond of the things they've done.
Yeah, I talked to his friends.
Why would he be?
Yeah. No, she lied from the start. She never respected any of it from the start. Yeah.
I wonder if there is an element of like just personal score settling going on here, where it's like, I'm going to not only redefine how people perceive the Jedi, how people perceive heroes like Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia. I'm going to redefine what the Force is. I'm just going to change the entire face of Star Wars in the public perception, and I'm going to remold it in my image.